Good to go, right? Okay, welcome to another lively meeting of the Environmental Committee. Can I ask everyone to turn off your mobile phones if they're not already turned off? Or just put them on silent. Just like to ask, have we got any apologies?
East Nicholson.
Yeah.
We've got Helen. There is, no. We've received apologies from Denise Nicholson and Adrian Party.
Adrian's one. Right, okay then, right, so we haven't had any applications sent in for any public inquiries. However, I'm aware that there's 2 members of the public in, and I'm prepared to accept any questions, despite the fact you haven't, because you should really put them in formally through the council. But can I ask you, have either of you got anything you would like to say or make any inquiries?
Just would like to know why there's such a hoo-ha about things like fires and the keeping the cockroaches, and us try to rectify it straight away, and it's just escalated from there. Allotment law is getting thrown at with, but we're going to find an agreement in a lease that was followed on the 10th of August 2023. And if everybody read the lease, they would see about keeping cockroaches. We haven't got hens on it anymore, but for 3 leases in the past, it's been poultry, rabbits, and pigeons.
Right.
That's got amended because it followed on the statuette from Blytheborough Council, and to ask us to do a survey of the chickens and all of our livestock. It's already been done 2 years ago if you phoned the APHA. I went around 2 years ago to get everybody a license, which is the Animal, Plant and Health Authority, which is a subsidiary of DEFRA, and DEFRA is a subsidiary of MAF. Now, for 2 years, I've gotten everybody registered in the 3 locations us are in charge of. Why did somebody not phone up and they would have given them everybody's license number?
Right, okay, Bob, can I just first of all deal with the fire thing? Okay. We did have a number of complaints from people who were complaining about fires, and I went round the doors of a few houses to find out exactly what was going on with that. You will be aware, because I spoke to you personally about this, that there had been complaints, and I was actually brought down from Hexham on the day that we got the first complaint, and dealt with, and then I saw Steve, and Steve had dealt with the situation. However, when the complaints came to council, although the fires had been allowed for this summer, the decision was made by council that the fires were no longer going to be allowed during the summer period, and we're going to go back to the old way. I did, in actual fact, say, and other people who are here will confirm this, that I would have preferred for fires to be disallowed on the weekends and allowed during the week. However, the majority of people spoke, and that's the way the council works, and the council decided on a majority that the fires on the allotments were going to be disallowed during the summer. I mean, you're still allowed to have a smokeless fire, don't get me wrong there, but as far as like bonfires are concerned and burning rubbish on the sites now, it's not going to be allowed during the summer months.
I know, but the fire that you had the complaint with was in the period we had previously.
No, it wasn't, it was in August.
That right, Chairman?
Wasn't August. But you mean, I think there was 2 fires that I know of that were blown towards the houses. And immediately went round, one had been put out there for half an hour after it had been lit. The other one, I went to see them as well, it had been lit and it was, there's nobody there, that's why I had that one put out as well. So I don't think you give it enough time. I know it was only temporary, or it was a trial period, but you didn't give it enough time. It's like, these all being councillors, you get plenty of time, you're there for 4 years, you know, you're all learning. I was learning about having fires during the summer, and I'm there every day, and if I see a fire, I'll go around and say, stop burning plastic, stop burning this, stop burning that, as best I can. I'll be everywhere, and there was 1 or 2 fires, people just complaining for complaining's sake. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's what they do. Well, there's a fire going, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Do?
They said there was a fire burning away, it was somebody's chimney. I took a picture of it and I sent it to you. And that I think is totally wrong. People's, they just want to complain. And the council's sort of, oh, right, best jump straight away. Not necessarily. What you remember is every one of us on that site, or taxpayers, or, well, you know, council taxpayers, and we are the tenants, we're paying money for the site, and then people's paying rent, whatever. But you've got to be a little bit lenient. I think what you did there is, oh, we've had 2 or 3 complaints. But what they're doing is everybody else is saying, oh, wait, I won't put it in. I'll sign it as well. And that's what's happened. That's what it sounds like to me anyway. And that shouldn't happen. You don't get that over Nashton. You don't get it in Newbiggin. You don't get it in Crompton. You don't get any of them problems. Because they're not to burn all year round. I don't know about Crompton anyway, but the others can. And I've already had this argument with Councillor Nesbitt there. She said, well, we're not Blythe Valley anymore, we're Blythe Town Council, and we'll see if we can get this changed. Yes, the council's changed it, but I haven't done it yet. I'll contact the MP. See, who's not stopping us? Why they're not stopping Ashton? And I don't want any of this rubbish where they say, oh, it's a different council. It's simple. Ashton and Blythe.
I understand what you're saying, Steve, and
Yes,
yes,
but I know you understand, Mr. Chairman, but it's wrong, you've jumped too quick. You've got half a dozen complaints, if you let it go and try and do it properly. There was only 1 or 2 that hadn't read the signs. Perhaps you can't read, I don't know. But that's as far as I was concerned. And you didn't give enough time.
well, what I can do is I can submit it again for reconsideration at the next meeting, if that's what you would like me to do, right?
I prefer that. I
Right,
mean,
okay.
most people's burning now anyway, they're burning all over.
But as things stand at the minute, the decision has been made, and I'll keep you informed. Barry, were you want to say something?
Yeah, in support of these 2, I think as a council, a lady may be able to correct is the council devolved delegated powers through the lease. I'm assuming it's the Bull Avenue
A lot of new sites now.
and deal, I don't think as a council, apart from I think 2 things in that lease, we can do anything with their association. We are self-governing in accordance with the lease, and this council, as far as I'm aware, cannot make any decisions on what they're doing apart from 2. And I suggest that we have a good look at the lease, listen to what they're saying, and I think they're self-governing.
I don't think we can make any decisions on their behalf on that side.
Right, well, Brian,
Chair, could you arrange a meeting with the stakeholders and the committees, and sit down and so we can come to an agreement that's going to be beneficial for both parties? Because we don't want friction between them, and we certainly don't want, you know, they don't want it, we don't want it. But I think if we could sort of sit down and have an ample, conversation with yourselves, which is fair, and the council, and come to an agreement.
yeah, okay. Well,
Mr. Chairman, can I say something here? I've asked for years for the council and the association to work as a team. And that's the best way forward.
yeah, okay.
Everybody looks at allotment law the wrong way.
Mhm. Right, okay, well, what we'll do, Bob, we'll take into consideration what Barry said. Take into consideration what Brian said.
I haven't finished what I was saying, Chair.
Sorry?
I haven't finished.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
That's all right. What I was gonna say, elaborate on that, is maybe have some sort of way we have a quarterly meeting, sit down and, you know, have a work party meeting going forward. So we're not sort of just sat a million miles away from each other and just emails. So it's actually an active working partnership.
Face to face, you're talking.
Yeah, of course, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, that's why we have council meetings, because things get decided better. But I think with it all, working with the allotment associations, working with, you know, as a partnership, I think going forward, we need to sit down, meeting, report the events, and, you know, like we do here, if there's a special meeting that needs to be brought, we can basically do that as well.
Yeah, okay, well, what I'll do, right, what we'll do is we will consult with the council over it, because there's going to be implications. Is it Barry next? Okay, thank you.
Again, with the greatest respect, Brian, I think the first port of call is we've got no jurisdiction, Brian.
Yeah.
I think my recollection of the lease when I had an issue a few months ago and it was resolved amicably, I think Captain had sorted. This town council has got no jurisdiction over what we do on that allotment site. Apart from, I can recall two things in the lease.
Right,
We can't even do that, is it?
Well, I'm saying, yeah, but it
Can't do that.
Chair. can be special environment. I think working together is probably a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, can I just bring David here?
Yeah, probably allotment rule there. That was a survey went out amongst residents and things, which cost money and time. And we've got to think about the residents that live around the allotments as well. I know what we're a new council, most of them, but there's also a lot of new allotment holders as well that needs educating on what they can burn. That creates smoke and that, you know.
And on the subject, can I just take one more from John, and then what we'll do is we'll consult, we'll confer with each other at the next convenient time, and I will come and see you, Steve, personally, and we'll get something arranged. Is that all right, John?
Yeah, obviously, I just want to speak up for like David says, the residents that live around the allotments. When you said that people are complaining just for the sake of complaining, they're not. There was serious health risks caused by the smoke drifting into people's gardens and into people's houses. Now, whatever decided later on, that's relevant, you know what I mean? But obviously, my job as a town councillor to speak up for the residents as well, and the residents that live around them allotments, but they're not, some of them, the complaints that I had personally were not complaining just to complain. They had serious health risks that were brought on, and otherwise they wouldn't have bothered complaining. So that's what I just wanted to say. So my job is to stick up for them as well.
Yeah, I wasn't finished before actually.
Sorry, go
Oh,
on.
sorry, David.
So, yeah, about the residents survey and that, you know, they were looked at, you know, and they come up with different things. And we had to work off that survey to come up with a suggestion on what's going to be better for both of you, really, you know. So we delegated the decision to do that. But apologies, you know, and also, you know, our chairman, he went around the allotment and asked people what they thought as well. And he didn't seem to get many, you know, much feedback of allotment holders on that this year neither. So, you know, we'll have to go with it. decision with the surveyor. Or something.
Wait, I'm gonna put in here. I've been and had, I've got several gardens, I've got 3. I've had 55 years of gardening and keeping an allotment with various issues, with different treasurers, committee and everything else. Now I was voted in as chairman. And I look at the law, got to sit there in meetings and decide what's best for everybody. And basically look forward, never look to one side, you've got to look at the grey areas and get a selective and positive result so everybody can understand. That's the best way forward. I've got the knowledge, but a lot of people here haven't got. I could forward that to yourselves to see what's going on. There's a man sitting in my corner called David Clough. He knows the rules as well as I do. And he could vouch for me to look at allotment law, the benefits it would create for the council and the association. Work as a team, and that's the best way forward.
Right, okay, Bob, and you know that that's my intention, because I have been in close communication with you over the last couple of months, and I'm going to maintain that communication. But for the benefit of everybody here, I'd just like you to know that I am talking to Bob and Steve a lot in order to get things resolved. It's not just a case of like them coming down here and making a statement. We've discussed a lot of things. I'm not saying it's behind your back. It's just a case of like, some of the things we're talking about can be resolved without any council decisions. But at the end of the day, it comes to a council decision, and I have to try and take responsibility for it as chair at this moment in time. Can we just leave the issue of the fires at the moment, or do you want to bring something else in for the fires?
It's just, I mean, yes, allotment holders, you know, they make a huge contribution to not just the people who work there, but the people around. But we have to remember one thing, that those particular allotments are in close proximity to a school, which is just across the road, and elderly people's bungalows, which are right next door, and 2 housing estates, Bolam Avenue and Coopan Farm. So it's kind of and we've got to remember that when the weather's really hot and smoke from allotments, any smoke outdoors, just even barbecues, you know, it hangs around so much. So we've got to think of the health of the people who live in those areas, as well as finding some kind of amicable solution to the problem with the allotment holders, because you know, allotments does provide a lot of companionship for the people who own the allotments, because you know, it's something for people to do, but they have to be, I don't, maybe there's a reason why they can't have the fires in the winter or even late autumn rather than 3 or 4 months in the summer. You know, I would find that
I think
that's not a big ask.
what we'll do is, we'll chip away at this over the next couple of meetings, right? Obviously, we'll be introducing, but what I want to do is, because I'm very much aware of the time, the issue that Bob brought up about the cockles.
If I may, Chair, it was actually me that corresponded with the Allotment Association about the cockerels issue. I did quote legislation at them, Allotment Act 1950, Section 12, which refers to the keeping of hens and rabbits. And Blyth Town Council has for many years allowed the keeping of cockerels under that piece of legislation, following the practice of the former Blyth Valley Borough Council. It's come to our attention on following advice from the National Allotment Society that we've been informed that hens specifically refers to the female of the species and not cockerels, and that the National Allotment Society advise against the keeping of cockerels due to the potential for nuisance. And what I'm reading here is actually taken from the correspondence I sent to the Allotment Association. And avoiding things being in black and white, we did say that However, as we have allowed the keeping of cockerels for so long, this is custom and practice with all existing tenancies. However, in the management of this, if there's noise complaints that come in relating to cockerels, the noise complaints, we are advised to send to Northumberland County Council, as they have the environment protection officers. Northumberland County Council work with the complainants to keep a diary of recorded noise and investigate the complaint as necessary. If the County Council deem that a noise nuisance is actually occurring, it is the Town Council that is liable for the fine if a noise occurrence is occurring. We sought advice from the National Allotment Society on this, and they suggested that in the management of any potential reports, that we needed to be sure that those tenants that keep cockerels are managing the sound levels with appropriate methods that are not cruel, so the welfare of the cockerels is taken into account, as well as the welfare of neighbouring residents. We have received limited numbers of complaints on cockerels, and because of this, we need to ascertain the position across all of the allotment sites to mitigate the potential of creating a statutory nuisance. So we are working with both Blythe Small Holdings Allotment Association and Newsham and New Delaval Allotment Association to work out the number of cockerels across all of the sites, and we're doing it across the Town Council sites as well, and looking at what measures are in place to mitigate noise of cockerels. And I ended that with, we hope to do this constructively with you, in partnership with you. So we have asked for that information on the keeping of cockerels, the number of cockerels. You mentioned AFA. I've also been in touch with AFA asking whether it's reasonable, permissible or acceptable for the Town Council to maintain the numbers and information that you submit as an association to them. And they have said, no, as you are managing that site on behalf of us, we should liaise with you over it.
Right, so you said there was a limited number of complaints. And as far as the Allotment Association is here are concerned, they dealt with these issues straight away. Right, I spoke to both of these people at the time, and there were other things were out of their control, which was, I think it was a complaint from Wensleydale. So that in actual fact was, and Dave dealt with that. Is that correct, Dave?
No, the first one was actually in Fulham.
Yeah, I know that, but that was
And then there's another one at Wensleydale, which is still in our investigation.
right. But as far, but
There's also now another one coming from the Bowling side.
is
That
that
complaint.
right? Okay, and do you keep the Steve informed about this? And Steve, are you aware of this? And are you able to act on it?
More aware of the one, which I acted on, which was about 62 in the borough. And literally got them all moved from there to a different garden. That's the only one I know of.
The other one that's coming in, it's just come in the last week, Chair.
So, obviously, if Steve doesn't know about it, he can't act on it.
Well, that one, it's come from the same complaint. It's the first time. He's been pushed back towards Northumberland County Council to make an official complaint.
It's this the actual garden you were talking about.
Yeah, from the same complainant. It's come in with another one.
Okay, Deirdre.
I've never heard anything so silly in all my life. I mean, how do you silence a cockerel, for God's sake?
But
I mean, honestly, it should be unbelievable. People should live on an island. You know, it's nature. The cockerels will crow. I mean, it beggars belief.
Right, can I just put you in the picture? What, my sister's got hens and cockles, okay? So what she did is she puts them away at around about 6:30. So that's it. They
They're quiet until morning, 5 o'clock.
No, they don't get out till late, so that 6:30 at the moment they're going in and they're allowed out at 8 o'clock in the morning. So
I mean, it's a lovely sound. I think it's a lovely sound when you used to wake up and the cockerels crow and you knew it was time to get out of bed.
But it's not-
On the door one, you know that, especially Wednesday.
but it's obviously,
People living down there.
I know you can laugh at it, right? But it's obviously a serious situation if the council's going to get fined, right? So these things need to be properly addressed, you know.
Not everybody works 9 till 5, you know what I mean? The complaint that I know of is it works night shifts.
So we used to have the shipyards where they were.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, totally agree.
Steel all night,
Totally agree.
trains
you
going
can't, you can't silence life during the
Can't
day.
say like during the day, no, you can't.
No. I know we're getting, can I have one last word from Steve and then we'll go,
Just further to that,
because we only have 10 minutes and I know 15 minutes beyond that.
further to that, we do try to instruct everybody that's got cockles, hens, whatever, with windows facing westwards. The reason for that is cockles, you get the light in their eye, they'll start crawling. The chairman will tell you that, he's very knowledgeable all the time.
Right, so
And that's seriously, that anybody that's facing westwards, so the light is not hitting their eyes straight away. That is the truth.
Right.
And if you don't believe it, ask the chairman here.
Yeah, can I make a-
So I was going to say, can I have the last, can Dave have the last word?
Yeah, because obviously this might sound strange, but obviously when I was on annual leave in Turkey, but I was listening to conference at 12 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and the tour was dark, and it totally made me wonder when people's complaining, going during the evening and during the early morning, and I've actually heard it for myself, and it's something I've never ever experienced. Yeah.
But they're probably outside.
No, they were actually inside because I had a bit run around to make sure where they were, and they were actually crowing during the night. So it threw me. They are. So
I'm going to have to let Daniel have a say here.
Just a short one, Chair, it's just around some of the, the apparatuses that I've read in the report this evening about what could be used to, I was going to say, silence some of the cockles, which I was getting a bit concerned, that sounded a bit inhumane. Now, you mentioned, said that you've got them facing westwards, they're going through the light. But isn't this really having a detrimental effect on the cockles themselves in terms of restricting their welfare, shall we say?
Yeah. All you're doing is, restricting the time, getting the light in its eyes.
Right.
That's all it's doing, it's not hurting it, in any way or form. I mean, you can restrict the cockle by putting a collar on it. You can restrict, by putting it in a lower pain market, so it can't scratch its neck. That's not what's what happened. What we're doing is just, we need a solution to invest, so the light is away from it, but like any other thing, when it's inside, it will improve.
My only concern, Mr. Chairman, was just I wouldn't want to see them having some sort of change in their life, which we don't know, make them more miserable.
exactly.
I can't see that we're putting in some restriction on them just to have a normal life, just for the sake of the residents. However, as a council, we have a duty to the residents as well, which I understand, so there's a conflict there. However, but thank you for clearing that up for me, though. It's fine.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
I would like to bring question time to an end because we're right over time here. If it's all right with everybody, and we'll, if we're happy with the next meeting, we'll come back to the subject. Okay, right. Okay, so
If you have any liaison, can you pass on anything that's happened?
you will be. I will make sure that everyone gets notified of any procedures that everyone will be notified on the committee. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. Right. Okay. So disclosure of interest. Have we got anybody who's got it? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to declare, I've been advised by the council to declare under section 106 of the Finance Act. I've had an ongoing issue with local and county council over my property development, not here it's tax. Disagree with the fact that I should declare it, but I've been advised to defend both myself and the county manager declare that interest. And I'll continue that until the Monarch Northumberland County Council decides to answer the repeated emails to give us his concise advice why it's took the council 4 years to deal with my property development, but my personal council tax issue And so I would like to declare that at this meeting, that I'll be taking part in it, but I'll not vote, because there is a clause in the Finance Act that says anybody who's in arrears by more than 2 months shouldn't vote. I've never been in arrears of my council tax, but I'll take the decision of the officers here, and I'll just not vote at this meeting.
Okay, right, thank you. for
That's the
that.
declaration, thank you.
Thank you, okay, right. Right, and minutes from the previous environmental. Do we agree on the minutes of the last environmental? meeting?
Great.
Agreed.
Right, yeah, right.
Listen,
Sorry?
we agreed at some council meeting on the 16th. It's not.
Well, actually, they were agreed at the last meeting, so I don't know what on, isn't it? Were they? Right, okay, I'm just following orders here, right. But was there any action arising from the previous meeting?
From the previous meeting, there was the defibrillator request for Portland Wind. And we were asked to look at the British Heart Foundation and what service they can provide for supplying and maintaining defibrillators. The General Services Officer did that, and they do not offer the service but can provide contact details for contractors who will supply the service at a cost. So that wasn't an option. Councillor Elliott asked us to pursue a variation on a S106 planning agreement to seek to gain the costs of the defibrillator. We contacted them and they said that was not possible because the S106 agreement for Miller Homes had actually already been spent. But the S106 agreement was mainly for education, affordable housing and sport. So that wasn't an option. And that we're continuing to look at creating a defibrillator policy that looks at where defibrillators could be considered when applications come to the town council in the future. And that'll be brought back to the next meeting of the Environment Committee.
Was there anything else?
The other action arising from the previous minutes was the inclusive play area. We are working with hopefully the Family Hub and the Northumberland Parent Carer Forum, as well as local residents, to develop a consultation. We've already started work on the consultation and have 2 consultation documents, one aimed at young people, one aimed at parents, carers, professionals. But I'm not an expert in SEND. I would appreciate somebody who is casting their eyes over it to make sure we've covered all areas so that if we're doing it right. We also are looking to hold some consultation drop-in events sometime in the new year, around the time when the consultation's launched. I'll update the next meeting when I have more to update.
Anybody got any queries about that? No? Right, so we'll move on to the next. Which is a committee budget monitoring report. We're getting inundated, yeah. I've got a Sunday. Good night, guys. That's the one, yeah. Okay, then, right. So what are we to do with this? So, for an income expenditure account for, year ending March 31st, 2026. Already made it, a couple of questions about it and quite a few things, clarified. Has anybody got any questions on this at this moment in time? Anything that we need to think about? Yes, Dan,
Just the ones that just the Mowbray close there in Southeast area, just what the expenses were on.
Well, it's probably a house sale, they get a new bearing put in.
Soft floor repairs of roundabout, carousel, and a repair to a bench.
Thank you.
That is Mulberry. And the other play area you asked about?
That's so. Please.
Yeah, it's, seats, want to get the basket swing repaired because the fixings actually wore away.
Is it basket swing there?
Yeah. It's the fixings where they attach onto the ropes are actually wearing away. We'll have to take it out to get a new one, new fixings.
Yeah, Brian, I'll bring you in a minute. Right, okay, Brian?
Yeah, same subject for Axwell Drive, please. Free, I'd say, for £10,003, and it's a cost of £3,374.
Combination.
We removed some concrete, we installed a pad for the bike rack.
Which was, did I contribute towards that?
We installed 4 bike racks. I think you were planning on contributing to 4 bike racks through your members' small schemes, but then we were given some bike racks, is that correct, Dave?
That's right.
So we had them, the ones we were given installed.
I did pay some money to get them properly blamed, didn't I?
Strengthened.
Yes, because it weren't adequate.
Repairs to the buddy board.
Yep.
The roundabout and supply and installation of 2 signs.
That's correct.
Which signs were they, Dave?
What's for the area?
When they installed, when it was actually built?
No, what done after.
Right. Okay.
Very happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Has your, the money that you put into it be shown on the accounts?
I mean, that would be on a separate account.
Yes.
Bear with me, I'd have to have the.
Is that the money I've done to pay for the strengthening in adequate?
I would.
Would that be in with that?
I think that's basically the question, isn't it? Has it been taken off your funding?
Yeah, pulling the house.
It definitely got took off the funding. I just don't want it, I just, my inquiry now is,
You want it accounted for?
is it being duplicated?
No,
I will check just this second, but thing in here. It's, repairs to bike stand, £145.
Right.
And that's not including in.
That's not included in that.
Okay, that's all I was at. Thank you.
Right, has anybody else got any queries? Everybody happy with that? So can we move on to the next issue, which is this decision report on the bus shelters.
Ready to speak on this or
If you wish,
shall I start or?
you may, look, welcome to start, yes.
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of companies getting on board with this across the world. As we know, without bees, we don't live. So this is kind of supplying a bit more pollination to help with globally for the continued survival of the world. I mean, without bees, we don't live. So a lot of councils I've seen up and down the country have these on top. It's basically we've got these flowers that are sort of hardy, can survive in heavy rain, lack of rain, and they're basically all round flowers. Plus, it gives it kind of a nice sort of colouring of the the rural areas. I'm not saying that we go ahead and rip all the old ones out, but we're considering these for the new ones that we propose going forward. Ones I haven't proposed is up Pinedale Drive. So it's basically just to give a bit of colour, help with pollination, help with and it makes the place look a bit brighter, different colours, and so on. I would like everybody to agree environmentally wise. It's it's continue. Like I've said on several occasions, without bees, we don't survive, and it's kind of the council sort of contributing towards that.
Gail, yeah.
Quickly before me.
You were first, right?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask, are we not already looking after the bees with the wilding of the verges and the little trials we've been doing? We've not been looking after them with that?
Well, that's expanded. I mean,
No, I don't.
we're cutting money back from spending, so let's spend it on something else. That's positive. Very vital. I mean, we're gonna spend on bush shelter, so let's put something on top that's not just a metal lid that we can put flowers in.
No, I'm just saying it's not a duplication.
Well, no, it's a bush shelter, not a walker.
Yeah, well,
You're missing the point, talking about flowers and.
Right, yeah.
Not talking about the bush shop, talking about what's going on.
Yeah, but it be expanded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
okay.
While in theory I do support this, my biggest concern that I don't really feel is fully addressed is the risk to those who are allergic to bees and the fact that people could go into anaphylactic shock at our bus stations, and also what would therefore be the liability on the council. Not that I'm purely concerned about the liability of the council, but my point is mainly for the lives of residents. But I know anyone who's in the partnership or meeting will have heard, I have an allergy to vinegar, and I've had to fight with when the council thought about changing weed killer to a vinegar-based weed killer. Think about people with allergies, and would this cause people to, one, not be able to use the bus stops, or two, put them at risk of using them? The second point, as it is demonstrated in here, is about the vandalism of the bus shelters. We do sometimes have quite a lot of vandalism. We've mentioned this when we've thought about like transparent stickers, and there's quite a lot of graffiti. Would anything would be stopping anyone going a step further with vandalism and climbing up and trying to disrupt flowers, I guess? And just, is there any kind of caution against that? Thank you, Chair.
I would just question the process of the motion. Have you had verbal agreement of one, Peter? Second.
Yeah, I did.
Is it written?
No, it was a verbal. I
Right.
asked him if he wanted written. He says no, didn't want to write it, but he did it verbally agree.
Just question that.
And I'm already aware of the fact that Mark said if anybody put any issues forward, he would second them.
Right.
He may not agree with them, but he doesn't have any objections
It was
to anybody.
the last one that day he
He
seconded.
doesn't have any objection against anybody putting a proposal forward for any reason whatsoever.
Well, I was gonna say, if he hasn't, and it only was a verbal thing, I would second it for you and.
Yeah. We definitely did. Yeah, we did. I can't remember who was spoken with the council. Asked, I think it might have been the clerk, asked if they wanted a phone, and he says if they want an agreement, they can phone me, and the clerk was, I can't remember if it was. So the staff said that that's fine if it's been verbal between you and that. If he doesn't agree with, well, in my opinion, he shouldn't be seconding it, but you know, it's a bit simple. You know, you say, oh yeah, second because I agree with something, but then don't, it's, yeah, Martin, but anyway.
What he said was he didn't want to silence anyone. Yes, sorry.
I just wanted to follow up that just because you second a motion doesn't mean you agree with the motion
Why second it?
for the rest of the debate. You know, so in the interest of debate, you would second the motion so you can discuss and debate.
Okay, I just didn't get second with something if you don't agree with.
Ricky?
Yeah, just seconding what councillor Jones was just saying. Also, you got to think that people that are bee phobic as well. There's a lot of things, especially more so with the little ones. And obviously being a bus driver in Blythe, I know what it's like if you get a mum there and she's got 2 or 3 kids and she might be watching 2, but not the 3rd. And they get excited about a bee or they get frightened by a bee and then they run out into the road in front of you. That sort of thing. I just think you need to be aware of that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Caitlin, and I can see where they would look nice, but then we did have that on the little units at the beach, and we had to replace the roof because eventually it rotted the plants and the chemicals that they were putting on to feed the plants, because they all have to get some kind of feed. And I'm sure there's some way we could get around that, but I still have concerns about being an attraction for young people climbing onto the roofs of the bus shelters. I mean, if we were to put some nice tubs alongside the bus shelters, you know, why is it that we can't do that? And they're easier to maintain in the long run. There's a lot of, it would look nice, but that would be only temporary, because then you'd have to maintain it, and, you know, the struggle to maintain most things in the town, never mind, you know, plants on the roof of a bus shelter. If we were to tidy the bus shelters up, some of them that need a coat of paint, and spend some money on doing that first and see what happens, because a lot of the bus shelters do need cleaning. They're they're covered in algae, and they just don't look good. So maybe we're to start there first and then put some nice planters either side. I think that might be the best option. And I do see where it's coming from. Yeah, I agree, but they're not practical.
Okay, and sorry, David.
Yeah, I spoke to an elderly couple that were waiting on a bus at Cubbon. I was actually teaming down, you know, and I was looking at elderly people had just missed that bus, so I had about 20 minutes to wait for it. And I went and spoke to them in the bus shelter. There was no seating in the bus shelter or anything, just a tiny one in the other shops. And I've come in and I priced with our general services officer how much it would be to get a one, and a one that's big enough for the public farming as well, for people that's got children, and also a seat. He said, well, to do that, David, because of the type of bus shelter and it's sat on block pavement, he says the whole block pavement had to come up in a part put down. He says that we traffic problems, we'll have to put traffic control in and everything and move the bus stop further up. Now, if you're putting stuff on top of roofs of bus shelters, you're going to end up with traffic control as well, and that's going to cost you a little bit extra money. So, you know, I can't see that working myself.
Anna?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just able to add a bit of context to Councillor Jones's query about risk around allergies. So there are many cities across the world who have these kind of bus stops in quite large quantities. So Utrecht in the Netherlands has over 300. Concerns were raised in every single city that has decided to put these into place about whether it would increase the risk of allergies. None have been reported and cities have continued to adopt them. That's not to say there isn't a risk. It's for, you know, the councillors to weigh up to what extent there is that. I suppose that risk might also apply to the in-ground planting for wildflowers that also attract bees. I don't know what conversations were had when those were put in and expanded, but maybe that's worth revisiting. And also, have there been any incidents off the back of that? So that's some context from research into the decision.
Yeah, just touching on what Deirdre was saying there earlier. I mean, if anyone's been up through New Hartley recently, they do a very great display with the tubs along there. They look absolutely stunning, and they enhance the area, and they're at a level where everyone can see them and everyone can appreciate them. I just thought that was very good idea.
And just before I bring you in, Brian, do you mind if I'd like to say something? I'm very much aware of the problems that we've got with bees around the world. And one of the big problems that we've had over the last, I would say, 20 years is the use of insecticides,
Yes.
which have basically had massive environmental problems across a lot of different kinds of insects, taking away the food source of a lot of birds. And we've seen a massive decline in birds because of it, and that's even in the countryside. The bee population could very much benefit from the proper use of these kinds of insecticides by the general public, and I think we're going to start by educating them as to what to use in their gardens before we start putting things on the top of bus shelters, because it seems to me that insecticides are prevalent amongst a lot of people who are gardeners, and they negate the whole issue of trying to provide a little bit of benefit for them, because there's so many gardens in the area that are being damage environmentally, what bee population is suffering as a consequence, and I can't see how that these little things that we're trying to do are going to really be a massive benefit unless we get the local population educated. Anyway, Brian, what we
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about kids getting on top of them and vandalising. Let's be honest. I'm not saying kids are good, but the kids are more likely to kick a pot over that's on the floor or vandalise something that's floor level than getting up on top of one. Now, it's, yeah, we've heard that there's been successful everywhere else. You know what I mean? I just, I'm not saying we go around and we put these on everyone, but it was just, even if we do it, you know, what other towns and cities have done is maybe do a trial scheme of 1 or 2, see how they get on. And that's where they, you know, bees are going to be around you whether you like it or not. They're not going to, you know, and anaphylaxis shock. No, most people have EpiPens to administrate iron, adrenaline. So, or should have. You know, and you know, it's nice to look at. You know what I mean? You're on the bus. What looks better? You know, a bed of flowers or a blue lid that's the paint's been enough. I don't know.
Kath?
I mean, I do like to see them, I must admit that they're really lovely, but it's the costing of them, the upkeep of them. And as we've seen on Blythe Valley Days, at the beach huts at the beach, the Dave Stevens Centre, the maintenance of them, I know it's very limited, but they still haven't been maintained properly. So to me, it's going to just, what the cost is going to be to to plant these and that. I think it's, you know, I think it'd be a shame to do them and then they don't get looked after, so then they're ripped out again. You know, that's what my concern anyway.
Yeah.
That's like Nick told us next.
All right, okay, sorry.
How much is the cost of a normal bus stop?
The bus shelters differ in price depending on how many bays they are and whether they have seating inside them and whether they require traffic management. So the bus shelter, I couldn't possibly say for one particular site without knowledge. We've factored in to the bus shelter improvement fund an average of about £11,000 per bus shelter.
I see that, but is that for one bus?
Yeah, one bus shelter, including traffic management.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that going to be like, what's the difference in the price between one of those bus shelters and one that's got the garden at the top?
I believe Hannah's covered this for the report, Hannah.
Yeah, it's working out as roughly equivalent.
There's no extra cost.
No.
To installation, no.
Including installation. So the quotes we received that will include traffic management as is usual when replacing a bus stop, the shelter itself, plus the planting on top, making it a living one. It's no different to a regular bus stop, bus shelter.
Yeah.
In terms of supporting biodiversity, I'd be happy to support it. However, I think as Councillor Wilson suggested, we would do trial it and do one bus stop in a particular area that benefits the most with the sun, as long as it's well maintained. I mean, if you look at the wildflowers going down South Newton Road, Broadway Way, how well they came out,
Yeah.
they look fabulous. And if you're able to replicate something like that as a trial for the one bus stop,
In Rotary Way.
yeah, I'd be willing to support that, particularly that corner of Rotary Way where it just blossomed beautifully for quite a long time. So, yeah, I think in terms of the objectives of the town council, there's definitely something there we could support, I think.
Have we got any bus stops proposed for Rotary Way?
At present, I mentioned the Bush Shelter Improvement Fund, which is the funding being administered by Northumberland County Council on behalf of the North East Combined Authority. Provisionally, we've been granted £95,000, which we're putting in £11,000 as MAP funded. And that would cover, I believe, 10 bus shelters. The 10 bus shelters that are proposed within that scheme have already been costed up and submitted, so we would have to honour those 10 bus shelters. However, Hannah has factored in that one of those bus shelters could be considered for a living roof. So it would have to be one of those ones that we've already submitted. We are of the understanding that there'll be a second round of funding from the combined authority, in which case we could apply again. But our £11,000 we have in the existing budget is committed, and there's no other funding unless you go into balances to cover bus shelters.
David?
Yeah, you've gone about kind of flagging shop and things like that. Will the bus shelter have a information plates attached to the bus shelter? Explain that to people. And then you say that those going to be liable for if anybody's stung and you put one of them on top of your bus shelter.
Well, Dave, can I just say that we don't have notices outside beside flowers where there's flowers right away down the side of the roadways, you know, saying beware of the bees, you know.
But it's a waiting place, a bus shelter.
I know it is, but it's, I mean, people walk along the roadways where there's bees and that, and there's no warning signs there, is there? Yeah, Brian?
Sorry, I was going to say, yeah, just I forgot your name there for a second, I don't know why. The roofs of the roofs of the huts on the beach, what were they made out of? Was it wood?
Well, I can remember when they were put there, and I mean, people were having similar
This is
conversations.
a leading question.
We're having a conversation that's what they have now, saying how nice it would be, and they were lovely for a couple of years. And then suddenly they became a problem with the roof itself. They're probably timber.
Yeah.
But they did have a surface underneath, like some time to protect the timber. But that in itself went by the way after a few years.
Yeah.
And they had to remove them.
Right, so just to double check, these would be aluminium, so I totally forgot your name, apologies.
It's okay. Yeah.
These are not wood timber frames, these are like a metal aluminium sort of non-corrosive.
Reinforced because the weight of the plants there, the soil, the watering and the plants themselves, obviously adds a lot to the bus shelter. In fact, one of the companies we asked about the shelters and the planting won't retrofit because they can't guarantee kind of the structural integrity of a bus stop that's been there for a little while. So in fact, they say only.
You'd have to be a new, not established.
Yeah, they bear that in mind. They're considerate of the added weight.
So basically it's a win-win situation for the environment and everybody.
Harry?
Yeah, just probably a 3-point input is basically the first one. It's great that we've got cross-party debate with Mark. Second, this is an excellent example. Good proposal, Brian. Cross-party. Second, that might not necessarily agree, but it's a great debate. Second one, Councillor Carr took me, stating I agree with him. I think what we've heard in here tonight would go on for another 10 hours. For and against.
Yeah.
I agree that we should have at least one.
Yeah. I would like to
for the good
propose at least
proposal.
three.
We should contribute, give it a go, and then we'll find out both sides. And then the third one is, I might have missed it, but you took it, jumped the gun. With the now given with the money, it's probably money that we would otherwise not have had. Could we use that? And you might have just said, I might have missed it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great proposal, Brian.
If I may, Chair.
Yeah.
The Bush Shelter Improvement Fund, there's a bid that has been submitted by the Town Council, includes the potential for having a replacement shelter that is a living roof shelter. It does include it, so it could be part of that funding.
How much is it? How much is it again? What one of these? What's by the NAL's contribution?
The North East Combined Authority has administered by the County Council £95,000. The Town Council submitting £11,000, and that will achieve 10 bus shelters in total.
Yeah.
That have been identified.
Thank you. I also, like I said, agree with the trial of one, and would say leave it to officers to decide where that is appropriate. But I just want to come back on the sign situation. I don't think we're saying you need a sign to say beware bees. I think, but you could, if we're
putting a scheme like this into place, it would be nice to have a sign of some kind to explain the scheme and that people could get on board with it. No, you don't need a sign next to flowers to say there may be bees. If you have an allergy, you're very aware of it, believe me, you know. But and yes, most people will go outside with their EpiPens if they are allergic to something. Personally, I'm not allowed one, so that's a different issue. But it's being aware of it, and I don't think anyone in this room should be cavalier about allergies. Like, people die from anaphylaxis every single day, and it is really serious, and it is a standing place. It's not like you're walking past a flower bed and you can move away from something. You're not going to be endangering the bees when you're walking past them. You know, bees are passive. They're not going to attack you for no reason. But if you're standing waiting at a bus stop and there is a lot of flowers and there are bees there, you don't know. Like Councillor Baker said, there's children, you know, you can't always guarantee that children aren't going to play around with bees and someone's going to get stung. You can't always guarantee that it could be a child with anaphylaxis and a parent may not even notice that the bee is there. Now, that is purely up to anyone else's personal circumstances, but I just would hate to think that in this room, on the people that we represent, that we're having quite a cavalier attitude to anaphylaxis, because it is such a serious issue. And I do agree that it needs to be talked about. Like I say, I do agree a trial, but I think it needs to be thought about. Thank you.
Right, okay, I want to try and bring this to an end, so I'll bring in two more people. First of all, Natalie.
Do we have a list of the bus shelters ready to be upgraded? Yeah, and which ones are the worst state?
It includes the shelters are, I can't tell you exactly where the shelters are because I don't have that information here, but the shelters that we've looked at include shelters in Bebbside, Kitty Brewster, Hoopin, Croft, Newsham and Plessy.
Okay, well, I mean, it would be open to discussion as to where we would actually place it. Or then, whatever we're going to decide on. Brian, I'll bring you in last.
Yeah, I would like to try and propose if we could have a trial more than just one place, because then you just basically giving one board the option to have the trial. If we're going to trial it, I think we need to trial it in a few different boards to see how it goes to different, you know.
The problem we've got with that is it's excess costs.
But it's not, it's the same cost.
No, it will be, because we've got to resubmit them. But
They've just said they can use them instead.
Okay, then, right, okay, so. Right,
Just
if you want to make a proposal,
That's what I would like to propose. If we can trial it in more than one area, maybe 3 or 4 in different wards, or at each ward in which it's in, they can see what it's like, and you know, they can kind of come up and, you know, say, we like this, we don't, you know.
what do we, so,
Sure. I'd just like to see it in one area first, and I think we had a good example with down Moultrie Way. Because of the wildlife that's down there with the flowers and everything, I think that would be an ideal opportunity to have one put down there.
but there's no bus stops proposed for down in Roman Way at the moment.
Are you proposing an amendment to the proposal?
Yes.
Any of them seconded?
Second one.
I hear what Natalie has to say first.
Okay, come on then,
I've
Natalie.
nearly forgotten. I was thinking,
I think it's pretty much the right timeline. I can't keep seeing you again.
basically, I think my point was about finding the right location.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be a trial, because like the bus shelter next to Wensleydale, if they had flowers on there, it's already restricted the view down the road. And if there's more restrictions, the drivers wouldn't be able to see past the junction. So I just think the right location has to be so you can Single place.
If we get back to, we've got a proposal, but we don't have any seconders.
Yeah, okay, that, right, okay, I do apologise.
Brian's
Okay, so
proposal.
Brian's made a proposal for 3 to 4, bus stops. Does anybody want to second that? All right,
Then Kath was making a proposal.
Pat's making a proposal for 1 bus stop. Does anybody want to second that?
Second.
Yeah,
I'd
already
say so.
seconded.
All right.
Debbie already seconded.
Oh, sorry, Deirdre's already seconded. I do, yeah. Right.
We're talking about the cockpits again.
You know, but have you, is it, sorry, Chair, is it
Yeah.
open one in that some of it? Because
Um,
what I'm thinking of is Albion Way where it's well open. Open
but
space,
Clifton is included.
right, because you've got that,
Stops that the children use regularly.
Do you have the details of the
I
stop?
can get the list now.
yeah, because I think the
Could we
one
not-
in
could we avoid
Albion
this
Way
now and just
over the bridge, because it's all.
rather than Hannah going and searching for papers in the office, can we?
Do we need,
If-
do we need to make a decision on where we're going to have a bus stop?
Can
Or
we
we're gonna leave it
avoid
to
that,
council to
refer it to
decide?
the officers to decide the most appropriate location?
I
Yeah,
agree.
location's a separate thing, isn't it?
Obviously, they'll take into consideration the most open area where there's going to be the most likely. Right, okay, right.
That's all. open space.
Danny, would you like to make any,
Just to say, Mr. Chairman, just to repeat what yourself and Councillor Jones have just said, that the area really should be considered where the most natural light is. And also where I would say there's the least amount of damage probably to a bus stop as well. So just to consider all these factors, I'm sure the officers probably are best to decide, but
yeah,
it's got so long as there's obviously natural light hitting the entire roof, as well as consideration as to how much damage the bus stop is.
we've got to take into consideration, like malicious, behaviour and open spaces are, and I would totally agree with that. Because I don't think every area in Blythe would be a perfect place for these, to be honest with you. Right,
Can I just for procedure?
Yeah.
So you've got a proposal from Pat that's been seconded by
Yeah.
Deirdre and Natalie, for trialling 1 bus shelter. Was Daniel making a proposal, or Caitlin, that it's the location's delegated to officers to
I'm happy to make that.
correct location? So that,
Right,
and
okay,
then
cool.
was there any other proposals?
I would,
Are you making a proposal?
yeah, I would like to amend and go with Caitlin's idea of having the board to explain what the scheme is about.
Okay, then,
Make
right.
sure that people are aware, but it's not a warning sign as bees, it's just we're doing this project, it's lovely. And
And is it in
Beware,
addition to the
beware.
proposal? Ricky?
It's just to sort of second what Kath was saying. I understand that it's a good idea for the officers to look at that as they have the list. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't want to use at any particular bus stops wouldn't be frequently used by children. And so perhaps away from like one of the school routes.
Well, that's what the officers are going to take into
I don't
consideration.
know, because I don't think Reva's being consulted about this at all, to be honest with you.
No, Reva hasn't been consulted.
No, there won't be, and there
The
won't be.
bush shelter belong to Blythe Town Council.
That's what I'm saying, so there won't be.
But the officers are going to make the decision. Yeah, Brian?
Can I just ask, how are we supposed to measure the success of this? Do we just, it's not like we're gonna ask the bees or the plants, but even to measure the success of it,
Well, who's measured the success of the other ones?
Yeah, I know
To make the statement
Yeah.
that they've been a
But,
benefit
yeah, I know, but
of the
like,
environment
they've
previously.
obviously done research and done measurements because of, less than, like you said, Hannah in Amsterdam, was it?
Utrecht, yeah.
Yeah, so can we look at, see what they've done to measure the success of the project?
Well, can I just say this before we go any further? I need to have a vote on this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because we're gonna, we'll be here till 10 o'clock at night and the things are
Can
going.
I mention to that one though? I think the people out there will obviously comment on the living planet.
Right,
So people make their comments whether they like them or not.
right.
So that
okay.
we were,
So
measurements.
what we're gonna vote on is this, that we're gonna initiate having 1 full stop. It's gonna have, a sign on it, which is gonna explain the reason why it's been put there. And it's gonna be in an area which is not going to be predominantly where a lot of children may be, but there's going to be a lot of insects in the area. That's the proposal, and I would like to see who is in agreement with that.
I kind of vote.
I know you
I'm
can't.
not doing.
Right, okay. We've got 7 people for, and how many people are against? Got 2 people, 3 people against. Okay, so that's carried. And I'll just explain the reason why I voted for it, because it's not going to cost for any more money, I can't see the harm it's going to do.
Chair,
Thank you.
can I just, I'm gonna have to go my other half's on night shift at 8 o'clock, at NSEC. So apologies, I'm gonna have to leave the, but make sure, you know, apparently it's frowned upon if your kids on, I've got a parent in the house. I've gotta go.
Yeah, fine. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much, everybody.
Here you
How was that done?
No,
Just wait a minute.
I've just seen, are you going home to put it on Facebook now, are you?
I just put some on Facebook, something, right? Yeah, that's what Facebook's about, it's democracy. And that's what you do. Let's stop this silliness, because, you know, it's supposed to be a council.
Yeah, with the wall.
Here you go. Right, okay, so the next thing we've got coming up is the environmental committee budget for 2026-27. Has anybody got any comments to make about the budget for 26-27? For the proposed?
Thanks.
No,
Chair, can I comment?
you're most certainly can.
On Malcolm's report, I made these, just summarising the highlights basically is that we're rolling forward. The budget from last year and is being as prudent as we can. So that it doesn't have an effect on balances. We've earmarked some funding for next year for, the funding from this year for, in contingency is looking at being earmarked for civic pride, as there's been a desire from members to do more working with the community to improve civic pride. And we have budgeted a small amount to continue the work of civic pride in the next financial year. I should highlight that this includes a projected increase of £3,000. This projected increase has only allocated £130,000 for play area refurbishment or capital projects. There wasn't intended to be a play area refurbished in the long-term plan for play areas next year, but given the committee's decision on inclusive play areas at the last meeting, we have included £130,000 there. But it should be noted that £130,000 is very much dependent on receiving external funding for this project. £130,000 will not fund an inclusive play area. We have increased the funding for repairs to play areas, as the budget we had, we did not feel was realistic to the amount of repairs we're carrying out at the moment. And we have not included, within the partnership, we've included inflation costs. I'm aware that Councillor Elliott had asked for additional weed killing to be investigated. That is not included in this either. And we're only looking at a £3,000 increase to this committee budget. If those things are to be included, then you would need to increase the budget.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think we're a plenty debate on the weed killing, and the priority you talk about bushfire cleaning and the other stuff. And I think the feedback from the whole of Blythe, certainly last year, was on the weeds, wasn't on the cleaning bushfires, and I think it should be prioritised in a different order. That the weed kill is put first as a priority by any partnership agreement or staff. Then the bushfire clean, that's the point that was emphasised. So if you do need more money for that, then I would strongly recommend listening to the community who work on weeds in all the areas, and maybe take a bit from policies or other to tackle the weed kill next year, so we're listening to the people.
I don't think there's anybody in the council who will disagree with this, what you said there. There's a lot of people complaining about the weeds this year. But I think this was one of those unusual years, you know. Right.
Dan,
Dan.
I was wondering if we could, give us some budget for the notice boards, number 9005 at the bottom, just with nothing set. I do have one notice board in my ward which I use regularly, in the interior is starting to become damaged, and I would like to have it replaced in future with some, and yes, I need new lock as well for that. But again, there's no budget set, so if possible, I would like there to be an agreed budget tonight if possible. But I'm also considering as well any other notice boards, any other members tenant in the town as well. I think we should consider that. But as far as I know, I'm the only councillor possibly does it.
There's one including that, councillor Richardson.
Right.
And what sort of costs are incurred with that?
It depends on the style of notice board that you're looking at. The size of the notice board, I have in the passport notice boards in excess of £3,000. Depends if it's post mounted or mounted against a structure. There's lots of variance to that. Depends on the location. If it's coastal, it's going to need some more protective paint coatings on it and special glass in it. A lot of variance there.
Well, I think that's next.
Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I think just first of all, on the post boxes, there's a lot of people, a lot of councillors put their own money into having them put up. So that's something to consider because it was supposed to be capital, not revenue, but just to let you know that. Lindsay Avenue play area, you've got nothing in there. So
Sorry,
that Lindsay Avenue is getting really neglected.
the proposed budget,
I've got on 10015.
yeah, 10015, the £20,000 play area repairs covers all of the below play areas. So repairs, Lindsay Avenue could be included. In terms of capital projects to refurbish or replace play areas, there wasn't actually one included in the long-term schedule. The town council has a commitment to replace all play areas within the lifespan of the play areas, which I believe is about 20 years, the plan. There wasn't a play area included in the schedule for next year. Lindsay Avenue, I'd have to check to see where that is in the schedule, I'm not sure. But the town council has a desire to provide an inclusive play area next year. So the £130,000 we've included is intended for that and that alone.
Right. Thank you for that.
Helen?
It was being video for me.
Oh, you did first, yeah.
Elaborate Place, I mean, I have mentioned this on a number of occasions. Residents at each resident meeting are complaining about the state of the Elaborate Place play area because it's flooding. And the kids can't play in it. It's in a terrible state and it definitely needs looking at. But if I could quickly mention on the weed killing, it's fine to have all this mass weed killing. But when you walk along Broadway and all those trees, they're spraying around the trees with weed killer. And you can see the bark is starting to die. And I think it needs to stop. They need to have those strimmers where they can just trim around the trees. It's very, very unsightly and it's awful because eventually it will seep into the roots of the trees and the trees die.
Right, well, I'll bring that up at the
So I think it's something that we need to think for next year.
Can you make a note of that, please?
And as I said, I feel strongly about it because you can see it and it's such a huge area around the tree. If they could stop spraying and use the strimmer and give the trees a chance. You know, we're talking about the environment here tonight and there we are trying to kill it off because it's an easy method just to spray around the tree. But Elaborate Place, if somebody can please have a look at that.
Yeah.
When I go to the next residents meeting, I won't be screaming saying it's.
And then Natalie.
Few points, Chair, thank you. So on the notice boards, I do agree with Councillor Clark. Obviously, we never tend to have a budget in there, But over the years, a number of members have used their county council small scale schemes to put them in place, with the responsibility then falling with the town council. Every time these have been bought and then put in, it has then come to council to agree that the town council take responsibility. Just to clarify that for new members, I do think notice boards are a really useful tool around the town, and I think we could probably actually need more of them, because I know in South Beach it's used quite a lot, and we always put it in leaflets to make sure that people keep an eye on that notice board, because we update it, and it's sometimes easier than social media for some people. I think if a budget for repairs, if not for more, would be beneficial. The second point I just want to check on is the blue flag scheme. Obviously that didn't have a spend this year at all, but there's now £1,000 in the budget for next year. Could you just clarify that?
Yes, the blue flag application was a partnership between the town council and Northumberland County Council. The previous administration of the town council agreed a contribution of, I believe it was £3,000. The town council paying for the flagpole and the notice boards that, the information boards that had to be put up before that. The blue flag scheme is the county council's application, but it may be that they come back to the town council as it was a partnership project. So we thought putting in £1,000 in case we were asked to support that, just to keep it a town council partnership.
Absolutely, thank you. And then the third point, just want to clarify this, on the play area repairs, it says in the 25-26 budget we agreed 2,000, but that's now gone up to 20,000. Is that right? And it's not just
That is right. That is
Okay.
right, yeah.
That's it. I did think when we looked at the previous one that 2,000 was quite low, and I was going to question that, but I thought, no, it's the end of the year. The fact that it's going up to 20,000 is much better, because I think a lot of the play parks need that additional repairs without having to worry about going into reserves. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the notice boards that are important for the community, people especially who don't use social media. But you mentioned the one in Cubbon. I don't know, do you know about that one in Cubbon? Do you got control of it? Do you have control of the one in South Beach?
We do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, it was Margaret's scheme, wasn't it?
The keys for it.
Margaret,
You gain access.
That's an open. Does it swap over to the councillors who are on that board to then take responsibility to update it?
If I may, I only joined the council in 2024. I am aware that there's one at South Beach. I wasn't aware there's one at Coupin. I wasn't aware the town council had formally adopted the notice boards. I also think if we are adopting them, we need a formal policy on adopting them, because we need to avoid any political or controversial things being posted in them.
The town council also have keys, so it is, there's nothing political posted, certainly in ours, it is purely community based, and the officers do check it as well, so I think if anything was to be posted that they weren't agreed with, they remove it. Same with us, we've had businesses try to put business cards on it, we've removed them, and anything like that, it is fully a community board, and there's often been, when we've had events, the town council officers have put them in themselves before we've even had a chance.
Do you sort of check them once a week or something, do you?
More than once, like we just go down whenever we're at a community event or the surgery drop-ins, we grab whatever leaflets we can and we'll swap things out.
Just to find out who's got the access to that box.
I think,
I don't have access to them.
I think you'll find most of the people that's got to put the notice boards up, have got the keys, but they've given them to the, shall we say, like the residents from Forget Me Nots.
Yeah.
They've got their own keys now, because they've got a board which Margaret got for them, and they look after that one. South Beach, obviously, Caitlin and Dan looks after theirs. The one in Open, I'm not sure who looks after that one, to be honest with you.
I've not been aware of any access to it myself.
I think if you ask David Clough, will tell you who.
All right.
Because he
You probably notes on it if it's, because I remember it coming to council to be agreed that
I can't remember that doing.
We'll look into it, yes.
Did you look into
Yeah.
it?
But we are presuming, of course, with the £1,000 blue flag. That we're actually going to get a blue flag award this year
I'm getting it on,
for next summer.
oh, for next year,
Yeah.
but what would be it like?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is. An application has to go in every year. I believe the application itself is £300, but then you're constantly having to make sure you meet the criteria, which could involve expenditure.
For change.
So, yeah.
And is that what the £1,000 contingency for, to make sure that, is that all?
It's, we're not aware of any expenditure yet, but if we wish to maintain it as a partnership, they may come to us for funding.
Right, look, have we got any other things that we want to bring up about environmental, budget for next year?
Agree the budget.
So are you including something for, are you wanting something included for notice boards?
Well, I don't know.
I'm chair.
I'd be happy to have,
Yeah.
notice boards as a.
So are you seconding the proposal?
How much do I?
I'm happy to propose £5,000.
How much is the board?
I was going to ask Barry,
Yeah.
I was going to defer to the officers maybe to decide the correct amount, me not knowing how much repairs would be.
I think it's more for repairs than more,
Repairs,
you know.
Right.
I think
Like maybe it makes an agreement if you buy your own, out small schemes for your ward.
Is that to allow for £5,000 to keep the ones that we've got now maintained?
Yes, yeah, and then obviously if we do get more notice boards to increase that budget year on year.
Okay, to keep the maintenance, I agree with what you're saying, so it's up to,
Up to £5,000.
all right. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right, okay, so that's actually, I think everybody's agreed to keep the notice boards up there. I'm happy with that.
Including the notice boards in your budget, so I've got another note here that says that if we did receive the projected costs from the county council for the additional weed spraying, weed management. And that would be £17,000 if we were to go with that, but I'm taking that you're wanting that to be discussed within the partnership board as to the priorities of the agreement rather than increasing it.
Yeah, we're going to discuss trying to kill the trees, aren't we?
In which case, adding the £5,000 on would mean an increase to the Environment Committee budget of £8,000.
Right. And how would we go about that?
You're making a proposal that instead of the projected figure of the projected budget of 584,990, that you're proposing, add 8 onto that, would be 5,6. Oh my God, my mind.
5,9.
No, 5, yeah, 5,9.
5,9,4.
596,
Was it 5,9,6?
592, 990. So that would be an increase. So you would be passing a resolution to recommend a budget for the Environment Committee of £592,990 as a recommendation to governance.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to propose. That we increase the budget by £8,000. Anybody?
I'll second that.
Okay, and can we have a vote on it, please? Right, thank you. So that'll go to governance. Okay. Anybody against? No. Right, well, there you go. Right. Barry's not voting.
I feel not to.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but yeah, take it then for now.
Right, so delegated actions, we've got no delegated actions. Well, leaves me with the date and time of the next meeting, which is going to be Thursday, the 26th of February.
Oh.
And just to prepare you all, I've no doubt we'll be discussing fires and allotments and cockroaches. So,
Merry Christmas and a happy New Year.
Everybody have a lovely time over the holidays.
Merry Christmas. Take care and don't drink too much.
I'm not free for all, but not good.
He was on the call, that's what he said there.
Don't drink.
He was-